Hey, Nate. I know I told you that we would be spending a couple of lessons on Mexico, but we actually need to pick up the pace a little bit and move on so that we can cover a lot more territory on the globe as opposed to settling in one place for too long. So pack your suitcases because we're moving south to Central America. Central America is made up of seven small countries. Some of those countries are actually smaller than many of our states. They make up the land bridge that joins North America to South America. They're strung out over about 1,000 miles, but if we were to gather up all of those countries and place them inside of Texas, we would still have room to put the state of Georgia in there. So that's how small those countries are. The what's called the Western Cordillera Mountains run along the Pacific coast of Central America, and it lies in a rain shadow. So the actually the one side of the mountain only gets about 40 inches of rain in a year's time, while the eastern shore on the Caribbean side gets more than 100 inches of rain a year. Most of the population lives in the um, what's called the Tierra Templada, the temperate zone, as opposed to the Terra Caliente. Caliente means hot. Caliente. So the former being cooler since it's at a higher elevation. We do know, don't we, that temperatures, climates, weather is not only determined by the latitude that a particular place is on, but also by its elevation. So even though Central America is basically a tropical area, being very close to um, uh, the equator, much of it is elevated, either in plateaus or hills or mountains, and so the temperatures are a little bit more temperate. The people of Central America, by and large, are relatively poor, and most of them are subsistence farmers. Remember that term from way back? We talked about subsistence farmers. A subsistence, I guess I should stop saying that since I can't say it. A subsistence a farmer is one who grows just enough food to feed their own families with perhaps a little bit extra as a cash crop, but they are not by any means ranchers or big farmers. One advantage that they do have is that the soil of that region is volcanic soil, and it is very rich. So it is good for any kind of farming. With the exception of the country of Belize, the rest of the people of Central America speak Spanish, and Roman Catholicism is the prominent religion. I'll tell you in a little while why Belize is not Spanish speaking. Political instability, followed by economic instability, is a very real part of their history. Those countries, by and large, when they consider um, the uh, the influence of the United States on them, very often they sort of resent it and think it's Big Brother interfering with their independence. But the reality of the situation is that, by and large, the United States has kept that region safe from foreign invasion. Being as poor and as weak politically and economically as they are, it would be really easy for another nation to come in and try to access it and attach it to its own country. But the United States has pretty much kept that from happening. Um, the fact of the matter is that the countries of Central America trade more with the United States than they do with any other nation, including each other. So, whatever their resentment is, maybe they need to get over it. Not that the United States doesn't be a little bit more sensitive to the feelings of little brothers, but by and large, it has been done with good intentions. The four northern countries of Central America are Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, and Honduras. I know Dad's friend, um, he and his family are missionaries in either El Salvador or Honduras. I'm thinking it's Honduras, but I'm not sure. And they have been for a very long time, their whole family. But those four countries were settled by the Mayan civilization between 1000 and 1200 BC, before Christ. Um, the greatest contribution that the Mayans civilization has really left is they left a written history. Written histories are rather important because it lets us know our history. We could go back to previous times and see what was happening many centuries ago. Of course, it was written in hieroglyphics, which is not a part of our language, but it has been translated, and so we know a great deal of Mayan history because they have left a written record. There actually are up to 6 million descendants of the Mayan civilization still living in Central America. That first country up there in the north, with that borders Mexico, is Guatemala, and it is the most populous of the Central American countries. Its capital, Guatemala City, is the largest city in Central America, in all of Central America. And the highest mountain in Central America is also located in Guatemala. It is Volcan Tajamulco, at 13,845 feet. That is a pretty good size mountain, and it's the tallest mountain in Central America, also in Guatemala. So it has several claims to fame, Guatemala does. The most populous, the largest city in Central America, and the tallest mountain in Central America. Belize, remember I told you I'll tell you a little bit about Belize, is different from the other Central American countries in that it was settled by the British as opposed to the Spanish. The Spanish left it alone because it had no gold. And that was the reason why they were coming to the Americas in the first place, to get gold and take it back to the Queen of Spain. But Belize had no gold, so they left it alone, and it ended up being settled by the British. As a matter of fact, up until 1981, it was known as British Honduras. I remember memorizing the countries of Central America, and there was no Belize. It was British Columbia, British Honduras. Um, Belize is actually a member of the British Commonwealth, just as Canada is a member of the British Commonwealth. Sort of a territory. Commonwealth is sort of a difficult thing to define. They recognize the Queen of England as their queen, but they are not ruled per se by England. The Belize has the smallest population of all of Central America. Most people are mixed African and European descent. It does have one of the longest barrier reefs in the world. It sort of makes it a great resort area. Many people travel to Belize for vacations, and that the fact of having the longest barrier reef makes it a haven for fish and a nursery for fish, and so it's a popular resort area. The Belize touches only the Caribbean Sea. The next country, what we're going to look at, El Salvador, touches only the Pacific Ocean. So even though we have this narrow group of very small countries, not all of them are bordered by both the Atlantic and the Pacific. Ecuador is bordered only by the Pacific Ocean. El Salvador is actually the smallest of the Central American countries. but it is the most densely populated nation in the Western Hemisphere. What makes up the Western Hemisphere? North and South America and Central America, which is in between. It is the most populated nation in the Western Hemisphere. It's also famous for its 20 volcanoes. This is a very small country, and it has in it 20 volcanoes. No matter where you stand in the country of El Salvador, you will have a volcano within your sight. Kind of interesting. There is at least there is an active volcano. Not only is it active, but it actually was formed within the past couple of hundred years. In 1770, a volcano named Izalco, Izalco, began to form in 1770, and it has remained active for more than 200 years. The capital of El Salvador is San Salvador, and it is almost as large as Guatemala City, which is the capital of Guatemala, and actually is the largest city in Central America. In El Salvador, the major crop is coffee, and it is grown on that plain between the northern mountains and the coast, which you can see on your map. Most of those plantations have been owned owned by, as well as in the control of the government, and has been I'm going to skip that because I don't even know what it was I was putting down. Have been many juntas or juntas, Juntas. A junta is a military or civilian group that have seized power and caused civil war. And this has happened as recently as 1992, which would seem like a very long time ago to you, but not to me. Such events cause great economic instability as well as take many lives. So they're coups, they're wars that by military or a civilian group that wants to take power away from whoever it is that's in power at the time. So we've gone Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, and the next one is Honduras. Honduras is covered almost 100% by mountains. Most of the population is mestizo, Mestizo, which is mixed Spanish with the indigenous or native population. So we have populations that are made up of African and European blend, and then we have the mestizos who are mixture of Spanish and the native Indians, basically. Honduras has been involved in numerous border disputes with both Nicaragua and with El Salvador. There was a 4-day war that erupted in Honduras over a soccer game, or the results, I should say, of a soccer game. And they fought a 4-day war with El Salvador. Lots going on in Central America, not all of it good. In political science, the term banana republic, you may have heard of that term. Well, there's a store called the Banana Republic, but that's not what we're talking about here. The term banana republic describes a politically unstable country that has an economy that's dependent on the exportation of a limited product, such as bananas or coffee or minerals. It's a term that is used very often to describe Honduras. Honduras is a banana republic because the people who grow the bananas, the large companies that ship out the bananas, like Chiquita bananas, they're the ones that pretty much determine what is going to go on in that country. The next country after Honduras, Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua. Most people live along the coast. Those mountains that make up the spine of Central America really prohibit many people from living in that region. Lake Nicaragua is the largest lake in Central America. It's noted for its freshwater sharks. I never knew that there was such a thing. But Lake Nicaragua, the country of Nicaragua, is noted for its freshwater sharks and its 3 volcanoes that are nearby. Hang on. Nicaragua is the largest country in Central America, but it has many history of many political divisions, which have really stalled its economic growth. So it has not made much progress as far as its economic stability. So that's 5 of the countries. Let's see if we can do it. Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Then we have the last 2, which are Costa Rica and Panama. Costa Rica means rich coast. It has the highest GDP in Central America, meaning that it is probably the wealthiest. It has a mild, pleasant climate year-round. 95% of its land has been passed down from the original Spanish settlers who developed a system of independent farms, as opposed to other Central American countries that used slave labor. And very often those slaves would either die out or run away. But Costa Rica established a more fair and efficient method of running their farms. Bananas and coffee are its major exports. It is the only Central American country that has been relatively stable. The other countries have not been stable, but Costa Rica has been relatively stable. It has only ever had 1 dictator and has only had 1 very short civil war. Other than that, it has been at peace. It doesn't even have an army, and it is really the most politically stable of all the countries. It also is an area where people go to vacation. So the last country is the southernmost country of Central America. It is Panama. And it is the most developed of the Central American countries, mostly because of the Panama Canal and the jobs that are related to running the Panama Canal. Panama is known as the crossroads of the world because of it gives ships an opportunity to avoid going all the way down around South America in order to get from one ocean to the other. Outside of the canal zone, most of the population are sustenance farmers. So the Panama Canal, it was built by the United States between the years of 1907 and 1920. The United States had retained control of the Panama Canal until actually 1999. In 1979, the United States signed an agreement with the country of Panama to turn over the Panama Canal to Panama in 1999, and they did so. So the Panama Canal is actually owned and operated by the country of Panama. The United States keeps separate Navy fleets in the Atlantic Ocean and in the Pacific Ocean. And to get ships from one ocean to the other required a 12,000-mile trip around Cape Horn, which is the southernmost point of South America. You look at a picture of South America, you can see that that would be a very long trip. So a passage through Central America would save about 4,600 miles. That would be definitely a good thing. The French had attempted to build a canal across Panama in 1882, but there were, after 20,000 deaths in this effort to do so, from yellow fever and bubonic plague and malaria, they gave up after 7 years. It took them 7 years to decide that this maybe wasn't the best idea, or they really were not capable of building this canal. So the Americans started construction by, first of all, draining the mosquito infested swamps. That's how they began the construction. Makes sense, right? And they began construction in 1907 by building the Gatun, Gatun Dam. That created a 163 square mile lake. And then they built 6 pairs of locks and the Gaillard Cut, which was a channel that crossed the Continental Divide. So we have a channel and locks and a lake and more locks, which brings the ships from one side, either from the Atlantic to the Pacific or the Pacific to the Atlantic. The first trial crossing was in 1914 by the ship called the SS Ancon, Ancon. President Woodrow Wilson was the president that opened the canal on July 12th, 1920. I wrote down 2920. That doesn't make any sense. July 12th, 1920. It cost $340 million to build. That was in the early 1900s. I cannot even imagine what it would cost to make that same construction today. The Panama Canal Authority has invested $1 billion just to widen and modernize the canal, and an additional $5.25 billion to add new, wider locks. Kind of interesting. I wish that we had time to look at the Panama Canal, and actually, maybe there probably is a documentary somewhere on the Panama Canal, which would be very interesting for us to watch. So that's it for Central America. What are the countries? One more time. Ooh, Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Honduras. I know that. Oh, what's the next one? Nicaragua. Sorry. Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. 7 of them. Let's see if you can name them. Bye, Nate.